Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about trends and updates in marriage-based adjustment applications. My name is Ruby Powers with Powers Law Group. I'm a board-certified immigration attorney. I've been practicing 17 years. The firm's 16 years old, and we have a full-service practice that helps individuals on their U.S. immigration journey anywhere in the world. So, what should couples aim to do in an interview? Well, I just was at an interview recently, so we're in luck. No, I've been to a lot of these interviews. In fact, I was at one myself back many 20 something plus years ago, with my husband. So interviews are scheduled more quickly than in recent years. In fact, right now we're seeing, right now in July 2025, some interviews are getting scheduled in only about 3 months. What we had seen in the past was that USCIS was trying to get the adjustment adjudication in under 6 months. There was a time during the pandemic where things were taking almost 2.5 years. And now we're seeing, then they did get most of the applications under about 6 months. And now we're seeing interviews getting scheduled in almost 3 months or 2.5 months. It's really crazy. I don't know if it's going to be consistent around the country or if it'll remain for the rest of the year. But be prepared that sometimes people say, oh, I'll get more evidence, or oh, I'll have the job to update the affidavit of support. But you want to be prepared that you could get an interview quite quickly. So in the interview, attend all the interviews promptly and fully prepared, dress respectfully. That means like pretty much business casual, I would say. Be honest and natural in your responses. Know that they're watching your body language, how you interact, how you angle your body. Do you smile? Do you finish each other's sentences? Do you like being around your spouse? um, bring originals and organized copies of your documents, knowing that you've probably already submitted a lot of things to USCIS, but they might want to see the original documents or the certified copies to double check that it's not fraudulent and that they can see it with their own eyes and inspect it. Be respectful of the officer and know your file better than anybody. Know what's in it. Don't just say somebody prepared it and I just signed it. That's not what you want to say. You want to know the answers and make sure that you can add updates if necessary to correct anything. And then just sort of, it's always good to do a mock interview. And we do mock interviews with our clients and that choose to have it done. I highly suggest it at a very minimum. If you maybe try to, you worked on preparing your application on your own, but you might want to prep, I would say highly suggest that. At our firm, we offer the services of preparing everything, prepping you for the interview and or attending the interview as well if you want all three. So don't assume the interview will be casual or brief just because it was scheduled quickly. Avoid unprepared or vague responses. Some officers might get really annoyed by that. But you really want to sort of mirror the situation. Like if the officer is nice and friendly, you can probably roll with that. If they're very trying to the point, then you probably just want to answer the question and move on. Don't interrupt your spouse or speak for them unless asked. That can be interpreted very, wrong in the circumstances. Don't withhold updated evidence if it's relevant. Generally, you're wanting to update the application with any additional proof of the relationship. And yeah, of course, avoid emotional outbursts if at all possible. These interviews are generally only, let's say, about 10 to 20-ish minutes, probably. They can take longer to be called in because of maybe backlog and waiting for other interviews before yours, or if the officer's reviewing the file. Okay, so USCIS has a lot of things that they consider to see whether they think the relationship is valid, and they have a lot of like the check boxes they look at, like how much of a difference in between the age, the religion, the education, ethnic group, did I say language? They look to a lot of these things, and the more there's differences, the more they think that this might not be a real relationship. So if they see also that the relationship was that you just recently met and then you got married right away, then they're going to have some questions about that. So be prepared to give more proof of that relationship. Different addresses on documents. They're going to wonder why. Of course, we know that sometimes it takes time to transition those things, but have a good reason. If you arrive late or you don't have a lot of joint documentation, that's going to raise a lot of red flags, incorrect information. And USCIS is likely reviewing more social media than before. So what you say on your social media is really important. So be aware of that. Interview questions could be things like, how did you meet? Which side of the bed do you sleep on? Pull out your keys and show us the apartment key. It could also be, what does your spouse do? How much money do they make? And ask questions about like, how do you organize your money? Does everything go into one account or goes in multiple accounts? Who pays the bills? How much is rent? These are some of the things that they could ask. So knowing about each other, travel history, habits. Also, like, have you met their parents, each other's parents? Knowing each other's full names, siblings' names, date of birth, all of those are really important to know. So to get ready for an interview, you want to make sure that you review the application, all the applications very thoroughly. Make sure that you have the original documents, copies of the certified copies, originals of documents that you submitted so that if they want to verify that, they can. Updated evidence of the relationship since you submitted it and continuing until now. And the three big pieces of evidence they love the most are taxes, but you might not have been married in a tax year yet, having to file, so I understand. Two is leases and apartment or ownership of wherever you live. And then the third are commingled funds or financial statements. So for long distance couples, it can be a little bit harder to prove that that's a real relationship. So be really prepared to have a lot of evidence, and definitely be able to explain your timeline of your relationship from like, when did you first meet? How long did you date? Who proposed? What was going on with that? A lot of times the interview can spend a lot of time talking about the relationship history. And so that should just be easy to talk about. But think about it as you get your dates and stories mixed up. You might get it mixed up because sometimes people remember things differently. And then if they do get mixed up, then that could become a red flag. But just like all real couples, a lot of details can be forgotten. So you want to think about it when you're preparing, and have your documents organized. So documents include like birth certificate, marriage certificate. If anybody was married before, the dissolution of those marriages, like termination, like of either divorce, annulment, or death certificate of prior relationships, the sponsorship, this U.S. citizens status and proof of their status, and if there's any police clearance letters needed, or any criminal records, military records. And you've probably already submitted the medical exam to be able to have the interview. So these are just some things, but when you get the interview notice, they will give you a list of everything that you should bring, but it can also be dependent on your particular case. So these are just things to consider, and it can be a case-by-case basis, but you being prepared and having those documents, even if they don't maybe ask for them, is way better than not having the documents, them asking for it and giving you a request for evidence or potentially a notice of intent to deny. Now, like we were mentioning, the marriage-based interviews, right now we are seeing within about 3 to 4 months, but around the country, we're not, this is in the Houston area, but around the country, we're not sure if they are consistent to that. There's lots of different backlogs. They're trying to catch up on things. So we're not really sure if this is going to be consistent around the country for the rest of the year or not. But it is exciting that it is moving quickly. So the Stokes interview, I've only been to a few of them, luckily. They really can depend on the situation, but it's really when the officer decides to split the couple and ask the same list of questions, but with them out with not being in the same room. So it could be, or what's happened is that they'll ask one of the spouses to leave out the room, ask the first one these questions, and then let the other one come in and ask the same questions, but not let the first spouse speak. So these are questions a lot similar to ones that are normally asked. How did you meet? what type of job do you have? What was the last gift that you had? What was the last dinner you went out for? How did you celebrate the last big holiday? Things like that. But often it can be confusing to remember all those things, especially if you're being asked and you're under pressure in the room. So you want to be prepared if you think you might get a Stokes interview. But I do believe they are rare. So what are possible outcomes to a green card interview? Well, it could be approval. They could just say it. I recommend approval. Yay. And usually we can see those things updated on your USCIS account. Usually when I'm driving away from the interview, I've already gotten that email and the client gets the green card soon after, usually within a couple of weeks or less. There could be a request for evidence for more information, evidence that they asked for that they didn't feel was provided. They could have some more additional review and just sort of wait a little while to get to review it. They could ask for a second interview, though that is a bit rare, but it could be more common in the future. There could be a notice of intent to deny, or there could be a denial. If you get a request for evidence, you want to act quickly, or else it could lead to a denial easily. I mean, it will lead to a denial if you don't respond. If you get a notice of intent to deny, you want to respond, or else it will lead to a denial. If you get a denial, you want to respond if you want to turn that around. So it is important to be watching your mail and watching your USCIS account. Interview tips: be confident but respectful. Practice, review some of these things because it can be stressful, and even if you know the answer, it might just in the moment escape you. Speak clearly and directly. If the officer is very likely using technology, don't be alarmed. That's just more of like how things are being done. They might be behind a big monitor, or they might be talking to you digitally through a screen. Definitely try to be at ease, make eye contact and communicate, bring updated information, improve the relationship, and do treat it with the formality that it is. When you go in, after going through like airport style security, you'll show your notice, and then you'll very likely be doing biometrics in a photo to confirm that you are who you say you are. And then you'll be waiting for the officer to call you into their room. Then they'll have you do an oath that everything you say is true, because you'll be speaking before a federal officer. And then you will need to show your identification as well and go through the applications, answer the questions, and then at the end, they usually will let you know the posture of the case before walking out of the office, which usually can take maybe, like I said, anywhere from like maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I highly suggest having a minimum of preparation with an experienced immigration attorney. And if you feel so inclined, even having an attorney attend the interview with you, just to be more at ease and be prepared for that experience. My name is Ruby Powers, and you can reach us at all of these different platforms: Facebook, X, Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, and we have a newsletter in English and Spanish every other week. Really great opportunity resources. So this concludes our trends and updates in marriage-based adjustments. Feel free to share with friends and those who could benefit from it. We're going to be having a late-breaking update about the Supreme Court ruling on birthright citizenship and what does that mean. Then we'll have the defending against deportation, relief options, and then navigating the perm process. Thanks so much for watching. Again, my name is Ruby Powers. You can reach us at 713-589-2085. You can also find us at rubypowerslaw.com, where you can schedule directly under the consultation tab, or you can also email us at contact@rubypowerslaw.com. Thanks so much.